Good evening. Good evening, everyone in the study. How are you? We'll get started here in just a couple minutes. We'll let everybody get in on board with us. Hello, hello. All right. Hi, Deidre. How are you? Hi, John. Yeah, all right. Oh, hi, Laurel. How are you? Good to see everyone. Well, technically, I can't see you just yet. Hi, Lisa. How are you? But in a little bit, I'll get to see you afterwards. So, yeah. Right. Hope everybody's week has been going okay. Yeah, all right. So, okay, so guys, so we're going to be starting chapter 3 of Colossians. Wow, moving along here a little bit. Yeah, we'll start here in just a minute. I just want to give people a chance to hop on and get situated. I think it's going to be a good one. I'm trying something a little different with my notes. So I'm making a couple of just bullet points and then Jesus take the wheel. We'll see what happens. It was a challenge. It's how, this is how Malcolm does it. He literally makes chicken scratches, shorthand chicken scratches on his notepad. Reads the little chicken scratch and then lets it rip. So hopefully it won't be a complete flop. But either way, I'm just happy to be here with you guys. Whatever happens. Okay. So I think I'll just read the section that I'm going to focus on and just see what happens. So we're just going to look at verses 1 through 4. There's a lot packed into those 4 verses, so I don't know. Hopefully I can bring some justice to it, because it's a lot. So here's what it says. It says, "If therefore you were raised together with the anointed, seek the things above, where the anointed is sitting at God's right hand. Set your mind on the things above, not the things on earth. For you have died, and your life has been hidden with the anointed in God. When the anointed, our life, is made manifest, then you too will be made manifest along with him in glory." So that's what I'm going to attempt to unpackage at least a little bit. So first and foremost, we see the big word, or really rather it's kind of a little word, and it's if. The scary if. But what's really important is that word, that the bigger word that follows the word if, right? Therefore. And so in other words, what Paul is saying is that since everything that I've just told you, since what I told you in chapter 1 and 2 are true, solidifying the fact that you were raised together with the anointed. There's no question. There's no doubt. There's no sense of, how should I say? It's not about whether or not you believe if this is true or not. He is saying is that since what I've established with you in the past chapters, since those things are true, this is also true. And it is that you were raised together with the anointed. So, this is the truth, is what he's saying. This is what's happened. There's no doubt. And then he says something that's like, well, he says, seek the things above, where the anointed is sitting at God's right hand. I mean, well, first of all, what in the world is, what are the things above? You know, what is he talking about? You ever thought about that? Have you ever wondered, like, what does that even mean? What can that possibly mean? You know, because we don't necessarily see, you know, the spirit realm. We might sense it. And some people get visions, sure, I'll give you that. Visions happen, and maybe someone might get a prophetic word or something of that nature where, you know, perhaps, I don't know, they see you being let's just say, maybe someone gets a prophetic word about being a successful, you know, businessman, or maybe they see you being a missionary or something like that. Okay, so there's that. But I mean, like, to actually see the things above. What's interesting is, though, that God does tell us that we now have the mind of Christ. And remember, in the previous chapter, he talks about how we were enemies towards God within our own minds. And so here he says, seek the things above, where the anointed is sitting at the right hand. Set your mind on the things above, not the things on the earth. And so I can't help but wonder, I mean, okay, there's also angels, right? Okay, angels and, you know, miracles, you know, healings, and we can get a little bit more charismatic, right? How about gold dust, or I don't know, glory clouds and angel feathers, and I don't know, whatever else. I'm sure I'm missing. Oh, gemstones. Yeah, don't forget about the gemstones. But I don't know about you, but for me, that's still a little shallow. It doesn't quite hit the mark. But if it's not those things, then what is it? What is it about setting our mind of things above, the heavenly realm? Now, Paul does tell us, remember, he says that we are seated in heaven. Wait, right? Remember that? I think it's Corinthians. Maybe 2 Corinthians? Someone might have to like help me out with that one, right? But nevertheless, he does say that we're seated in heavenly places. He says it to the Colossians just in a slightly different way. And But what is it? What is it about setting our mind on the things above? I would like to propose that he is referring to what he made mention in chapter 1, the song. Anybody remember? You remember that? How it says, let me go back. How about that he is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For everything was created by him in heaven and on earth, the visible and the invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and by him all things hold together. He is also the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, so that he might come to have first place in everything. For God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him, and through him to reconcile everything to himself, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood shed on the cross. Things that are above. Now, earthly things, okay, I think that for me is sort of a given. Things, the sense, the five senses, carnal things, okay, especially like sexual impurity and, worries about, where your next paycheck might come. Worried about a loved one, maybe in an unhealthy way. What else? What else is an earthly worry? Did I mention wealth? Maybe where wealth is coming from or not coming from. Worrying about maybe how the poor are going to be fed. Maybe worrying about where your next meal is coming from for some of us, right? I mean, the list goes on and on. So for me, the earthly stuff is really kind of a given point. Okay, I get it. But here's the kicker of all of it. As he says here, set your mind on things above and not the things of the earth. So I don't think it's I'll just go out on a limb here. I'm bent to think about this not necessarily in things or stuff, whether it be earthly things in that sense or earthly things in that sense. I'm thinking that he's referring about this. He's referring about the mind forgetting the centrality of Christ. Setting your mind on things above. I think that's what he's talking about. He's talking about the union that's been accomplished on our behalf. I believe he's talking about your death in Christ and your resurrection in Christ and your ascension in Christ. He's talking about the relationship within the Trinity that he has grafted you in. Set your mind on things above. That's what I hear when I read that. That's where my thought, my inclination goes to. And then he says here, so for you have died and your life has been hidden. Okay, hidden. Concealed would be another word. And what does it mean to be concealed? It would mean that you would no longer see that if you were concealing an item anyways, right? For those of us in Texas, or if you're in a gun-friendly state, you conceal your handgun. So that means nobody knows that you have it. Yet it's there, regardless, whether they know it's there or not. Huh. Isn't that interesting? Because no matter what Christ did on the cross for us, he did it. He accomplished it. Whether we know it or not, and whether we believe it or not. So our life has been hidden with the anointed in God. By the way, I'm using the Bentley translation, if you're curious about that. So we've been hidden. Our life is no longer our own, but it is I that live in Christ, right? It's no longer I live for myself. I live for him. Yeah. Now here's a real interesting find that I did find about that following verse, where it says, when the anointed, our life, is made manifest, then you too will be made manifest along with him in glory. Now here's what's interesting. There is a what's it called? A concordance? No. It's called like a Strong's dictionary. There's one with the acronym BDAG. It's just an abbreviation for the professors that did all the digging. That word "when." Now remember that Malcolm and others, as they stated, is that the Hebrew language, they didn't have a future tense in their language, so it's always present past, right? What has happened and how it affects me now, but not future talk. So, but that Strong's study guide deal called BDAG, B-D-A-G, actually says that a better translation for the word "when" is every time. So let me read that to you again. Every time the anointed in our life is made manifest, then you too will be made manifest along with him in glory. So it's now. So you know what it makes me think about? It makes me think about moments in life when, let's just say, you were compelled to move in compassion for someone, family or stranger, whether it was to bring them a meal, or maybe take them groceries, or maybe pay a bill for them, or maybe a phone call. Maybe just something as so simple as just a little phone call to say hi. And we're no longer separated. We never were to begin with, but we believed the lie that we were. But now, knowing that we're not separated and that we're in union, every time that the Lord manifests himself in our lives, you too are glorified with him. So it's something that's happening now. That to me is relationship, and is love. But there's another real interesting point that I'd like to bring up, and it's about the word life. And I think it's really easy to just kind of skim right through it or right over it and not really pay attention to what he's saying. So let me read it again. For you have died, and your life has been hidden with the anointed in God. What does that mean? What does it mean that your life has been hidden? And not only that, but there was also an exchange in our life for his. And the real fascinating part about life is that he's talking about the nature of his life. Zoe is the Greek word there. Z-E-O, Zoe, I think. No, Z-O-E, I think. He's talking about the nature of our Father. And what is the nature of our Father? Okay, think about this. Like here, you are hidden in the anointed. Your life, your oneness, your being is hidden with Christ. The very nature of our Father is in you. And Paul tells us, God is love. What does Jesus say too? He says, I am the way and the life. And what also he does say, I believe, that what I have I give to you. Life. This is not just talking about our life in through eternity. It's talking about his life, his ways, his movement, his relationship, his compassion, his endurance, his everything has been given to us. And we're hidden in the anointed, in Christ, within Christ. Yeah. And as he said, is that we're no longer living our own life, but we're living his life. Think about that. That is astonishing, I think. What a tremendous amount of hope that when you're going down the grocery aisle and you're checking things off your list, it means that he's checking that list off with you. And it means that perhaps, the people you see when you go to the grocery store, they're ordained. There's union there. There's oneness. There's no separation. And then all of this is being done not because we did something. As I said before, it's not because we prayed a special prayer or prayed in the closet, 5 minutes before leaving the grocery store. It's not because we centered ourselves in some way. No. No. He does all of this, as you've heard before, for our name's sake, or his name's sake, excuse me. For his name's sake, he did all of this. And so, if you are hidden in Christ, and Christ is at the right hand of the Father, or another way you could read that is in right standing, in right relationship, where are you? Where are you right now, even in your deepest despair? Where are you? You are seated at the right hand of the Father in perfect relationship within Christ, our perfect mediator, our perfect shepherd, the good shepherd, as they say. So, all right, enough blabbing around. That is all that I have for you. Let's see. I want to make sure, and you two will be made manifest along with him in glory. Now remember too, one more little thought. One more little thought. Glory. Okay. As I said before, angels, okay, yeah, I'll give you that. Gold dust, sure, fine, that's fine if you want it. Glory clouds and miracles and signs and wonders and whatever else, okay, you can have that. But glory, if what I said before, if glory or the things above are not just those things, maybe those are byproducts or constituents of who God is, then glory also, remember that when we mentioned glory in the past, is that he's talking about the final opinion of whom God thinks of you. And you know, when Christ came and he walked the earth with us, this is Zoe again as well, okay? So it's almost like they're interlocked, but Christ comes, meets us right where we are as a man, and he demonstrates, he says I am the life, I am the way to the Father. And he says that as a man looking at us. How profound. Now that with the understanding of what it means when he says, I am the life, I am the complete nature of God, the Father. It's beautiful to think it about that way, right? Christ represents the Father 100%. And so he says, and so you two will be made manifest along with him in glory. In glory. Yeah, a celebration, okay. There's definitely a celebration about that. It's good news. But more importantly is that the opinion that God has of us is seen in the face of Christ as he came to us as a man. So, okay, now I think I'm done. I will wrap this up and I'll open up the little hangout session, guys. Thank you so much.